It started as an ordinary summer evening deep in the Allegheny forest of western Pennsylvania. Two longtime friends, Mark and Rebecca, had driven out to their remote cabin for a weekend of solitude, leaving behind city lights and distractions. They were drawn by rumors of local Bigfoot sightings, nothing new to them, but had never experienced anything beyond distant howls or branches snapping at night. They arrived just after sunset. The forest was heavy and still. Cicadas buzzed, the wind whispered through the hemlock needles, and shadows stretched long. Around 9 p.m., after supper and a fire, Rebecca walked down a narrow path behind the cabin to clear her mind. Mark stayed on the porch, listening to the crickets. Rebecca wandered maybe 50 yards from the cabin, far enough that the firelight no longer penetrated the darkness. She paused suddenly. A distinct crack echoed from deeper in the woods, twigs snapping under great weight. She froze. In the gloom, she thought she saw movement, a huge limb shifting. Her heart hammered. She whispered his name, then turned slowly and hurried back. She found Mark tense, staring into the woods. "I saw something," she said softly. He followed her gaze. Together they watched as the forest beyond their clearing seemed to breathe. Leaves rustled, not with wind, but with passage of something massive. Around 10:30, they heard knocks, rap, 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 on standing dead trees from different directions. Rebecca gripped Mark's arm. The sound repeated, irregularly. Then a distant exhalation, a low, guttural groan. The hairs at the back of Rebecca's neck rose. Mark grabbed his flashlight and stepped off the porch. His beam skittered across trunks and ferns. He caught a glimpse, tall, broad-shouldered, thick hair glinting in the light. The figure vanished. They rushed to open cabin windows to look out. Nothing. Silence. At midnight, both lay awake, alert to every twig, shifting shade, and distant echo. Around 1:15 a.m., Rebecca heard more knocks, this time closer, in the clearing's edge. Mark crawled out and peered through the blinds. About 30 feet away stood something, taller than either of them, towering over saplings. Broad arms hung heavy. Its head was level with middle branches. Mark snapped on a weak flashlight. The light hit the figure's chest. He swore he saw a chest cavity rising and falling in deep breathing, thick hair moving with it. The beast made no sound as it shifted, no growl, no step, just a heavy presence. Then it turned. Two glowing eyes caught the light for a moment before it retreated silently into the darkness. Rebecca and Mark remained motionless, hearts pounding, ears straining. After 10 minutes, with nothing more, they dared to whisper to each other. Morning light could not come soon enough. At first light, they ventured outward. In damp earth, just beyond the clearing, they found impressions, deep and wide, footprints, well over 16 inches long, with visible toe and heel marks. The ground was soft, muddy from last night's breeze. Each print was spaced far apart, indicating an unnaturally long stride. Broken branches littered a small arc in the woods, and some saplings showed bark removed, peeled inward. On one tree, scratch marks, vertical, claw-like, rose a foot off the ground. The air still held a faint musky odor, cold and musty, like damp peat and unwashed fur. Rebecca recorded all of this on her phone. Photos, videos, voice notes describing her impressions. Mark collected one small twig that appeared freshly broken, placing it in a Ziploc bag. Over the next 2 days, they combed the woods around the cabin. They heard deep knocks in the night, distant whoops like long yelps, and one night glimpsed a hulking shadow circling the cabin at a far distance, just beyond flashlight range. They never saw it full on again. After returning home, they sent their report to the BFRO, including photos, footprint measurements, and audio of distant howls. Investigators classified it as a credible sighting. Class A, because the witnesses were experienced outdoors people, the evidence was tangible, footprints and photos, and the behavior matched other documented Bigfoot encounters. Local lore began to catch wind. Neighbors reported hearing wood knocks the same nights. One hunter claimed to smell a strange odor in the forest. Sour, musky, like wet fur. Another said his dogs refused to enter parts of the woods near their property. Word got to a BFRO field team. In the late summer, they organized an expedition to the site. They used thermal imaging, motion cameras, audio recorders, and night vision scopes. On the second night, the cameras picked up heat signatures crossing the clearings, bipeds of large mass, traveling in slow, silent patterns. They heard distant vocalizations, low howls, wood knocks, and long-pulsed groans. In analyzing the footage, researchers saw shapes too large for deer or bears, limbs moving in deliberate strides, two-legged gait, no tail. The audio matched patterns in other BFRO files. The footage was inconclusive in resolution, but compelling in behavior. The site remains under occasional surveillance. Months later, after the initial couple's sighting, Rebecca confided she had recurring nightmares, massive figures standing in her room, breathing heavy darkness. Mark says he still feels eyes on him when walking in dense woods, especially near old logs or wet creek beds. They tell their story at local cryptid gatherings, show the photos and prints preserved. Some skeptics claim misidentification, bears, shadows, hoaxes, but the depth and consistency of their evidence gives many pause. Why did the creature hang around their cabin for 2 nights? Some theorize it was investigating an intrusion, protecting territory, or merely curious. Others suggest it was a matriarch teaching young or a transient passing through its range. To this day, the marks remain. The prints, the odor, the broken saplings, the distant cries. Rebecca and Mark still sleep uneasy. And somewhere in those dark forest depths, something moves, watches, breathes. Could it have been mere coincidence? A bear or moose? The two say no. The structure of the prints, the silent gait, the behavior, they knew what they saw. And through BFRO's verifying protocols, their incident joined the tall ledger of North American Sasquatch lore.
Suddenly, a massive bipedal creature charges at him. A young boy sets out into the woods alone, armed only with a camera and a flashlight. He had always been curious about what the forest looked like at night, despite his parents' warnings against it. On this particular night, he would discover exactly why they urged him to stay away from this specific area. As he explores, he begins to hear rustling sounds nearby, as if something large is approaching. Suddenly, a massive bipedal creature charges at him.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
The footage reveals an enormous figure, covered in dark hair, appearing to be a blend of human and large ape features. Just as it lunges toward him, the video abruptly cuts off, likely due to the boy's panic as he turned off the camera in an attempt to escape. It remains unclear what happened to him after the recording, but it's presumed he is safe since he managed to share the footage with the world, indicating his camera made it out intact. Perhaps the boy chooses to remain silent to avoid complicating his life or revisiting traumatic memories of the night he was nearly attacked by an unidentified creature in the woods. What are your... One day, a hiker was out on a trek when he came across something utterly unexpected. As an experienced outdoorsman, he had encountered many strange sights in nature, but what he found that day not only shocked him, but left a lasting scar.
Where is that? Jesus.
The gruesome sight was truly unsettling. It appeared to be the corpse of a baby Sasquatch. It looked incredibly lifelike, and the hiker is convinced it's genuine. The face showed signs of slight decomposition, but its features were still discernible. The creature had a large, veiny stomach, with sparse fur in that area, along with slender limbs. The level of detail on this being is astonishing. On November 24th, 2024, one of the most frightening images of Bigfoot surfaced, accompanied by the caption, "Bigfoot looking through cabin window." Here's the photo. Unfortunately, there isn't much information available about it. The location remains undisclosed, and the person who snapped the picture has not provided many details. However, one thing is certain: it's utterly chilling. Just picture being alone in a secluded cabin in the woods while this creature peers in at you through the window. I'd probably sell my cabin and never return. Take a look at this image. Its right eye glows, while the left one does not. It has a strong, large primate-like face, a broad nose, a prominent brow ridge, and a straight mouth. While some people describe Bigfoot as majestic and captivating, this particular sighting is anything but. I wish there were more details available, perhaps even a video, but regardless, it's one of the most terrifying Bigfoot images out there. In October, what began as a typical Snapchat video transformed into something quite bizarre. Later, an anthropologist examined the footprints and estimated they belonged to a creature about 15 feet tall. Experts agreed that the prints seemed to be genuine. A brand new, potentially groundbreaking Bigfoot video dropped on March 5th, 2025. This time from none other than the Discovery Channel, a source known for its credibility. They shared the clip with a provocative caption. Is this the proof we've been waiting for, or just the beginning of something bigger? Here's what they captured.
Right there. Are you seeing that? Holy right there, just zoom in, right there. Are you seeing that?
I saw something. What the I just saw it again.
Holy smokes.
Oh, yeah. Look at that.
Look at that.
Okay.
Now that doesn't look like a bear, does it?
No, it's crazy good.
That was upright.
Watch it again.
Yeah, it's walking.
The footage comes from the team behind Expedition Bigfoot, who are no strangers to trekking through wild terrain in search of the elusive creature. Most of the time, their findings are interesting, but inconclusive. This time, though, things felt different. While scanning a tree-covered mountainside with a long-range camera, the crew spotted something unusual. As they zoomed in, the camera briefly captured what appeared to be the head and shoulders of a massive bipedal creature, undeniably Bigfoot-like. What we're seeing looks like an actual ape-like creature, just standing there, partially hidden in the foliage. Let's take a look at a newly released Bigfoot sighting, captured on May 18th, 2025. This one was caught on a trail cam set deep in the woods. It was filmed in the dead of night, and while the exact location remains classified, is believed to have been taken somewhere in the U.S. What really sets this clip apart is the eye shine. The creature's eyes are glowing intensely. If this were someone in a costume, it's extremely unlikely their eyes would reflect light in this way. Human eyes don't typically produce this kind of glow. That trait is more common in nocturnal animals. Now, some trail cameras can pick up a faint eye reflection in humans, but when we apply light filters to this footage, the figure becomes much more defined. And that's when things start to look eerily real. What we're seeing looks like an actual ape-like creature, just standing there, partially hidden in the foliage. But here's the catch. We don't have apes living in the wild here in the U.S. So, what is it? That's when he spotted what appeared to be a face, hidden in the brush, watching him. This image comes from Harley Owens, known as Bigfoot Reports and Data on TikTok. The photo was taken in the Smoky Mountains, and here's what he had to say about it. On December 9th, 2024, I was out exploring my research area and decided to venture into a section I'd never been to before. I always notice a shift in energy when I'm near this spot. Feeling that familiar sense of being watched, Harley decided to turn on his backtrail camera as he continued deeper into the woods. The area, surrounded by thick forests, steep hills, and rugged mountains, he describes as an ideal hiding place for Bigfoot. As he hiked, he began noticing more and more signs of possible Bigfoot presence. Things like broken trees, unusual structures, arches, and what appeared to be possible nesting sites. He even mentioned the hairs on the back of his neck standing up, a reaction he's learned not to ignore. After returning home, Harley reviewed around 2.5 hours of trail cam footage. At first, nothing seemed out of the ordinary, until this moment. That's when he spotted what appeared to be a face, hidden in the brush, watching him. The face looks dark and shadowed, with deep-set eyes, a domed skull, broad shoulders, and an expression that seems both human and ape-like. Harley claims you can make out its eyes, nose, cheekbones, and even its hairline. It's a pretty compelling image. You can hear all the fear in the guy's voice when he saw Bigfoot, but the question is, why does Bigfoot move on all fours? In a small town in the south of the state of Washington battlefield, a young man was walking through a local park, wanting to capture the nature of the coming spring, but suddenly listening to the bushes and coming closer to check, he saw it. We haven't seen anything like this yet. The creature on all fours is approaching the guy very quickly. You can hear all the fear in the guy's voice when he saw Bigfoot, but the question is, why does Bigfoot move on all fours? After chatting with their friends, they came up with several explanations. First, if a Bigfoot is a primate, then moving on all fours, quadrupedalism, may be a natural part of its motor scheme, like in gorillas or chimpanzees. Such animals most often move on four limbs, using a fist gait when they rely on bent fingers. Further, moving on all fours can provide greater stability on difficult or slippery terrain, such as slopes, swamps, and dense undergrowth.
Look at the size of that thing!
We captured this footage last September during a 6-day canoe trip with friends on Lake Ashigan, Minnesota. One afternoon, a couple of friends left our campsite to explore a nearby trail and take some scenic photos. While out there, they suddenly heard strange noises coming from the bushes nearby and immediately started recording.
Did you hear that? Dude, that's like something's knocking, dude. That's not a woodpecker. Do you have your camera? I can't see it. Is that a bear?
Look at the size of that thing!
Dude, that's not a bear. That's not a bear. That's not a bear.
You can clearly hear 2 loud wood knocks at the beginning of the clip. It's worth noting that these guys are quite familiar with Bigfoot-related phenomena. At first, they assumed the massive, fast-moving creature they spotted was a bear, until they saw it sprinting upright through the forest on 2 legs. While the exact location of the sighting hasn't been disclosed, we do know the photo was taken in 2023. Overall, it presents a very compelling image of a purported Bigfoot in high definition. In Utah, a man was walking through the woods during the construction of his house in the woods, resting on a tree stump. He got up and noticed a figure in the background, immediately turning on the camera and began recording everything that was happening. Let's take a look. In the background, behind the trees, we see a hairy and dark figure that was looking at the author of the video. But after a few seconds, we see a new movement. The Bigfoot is moving through the thicket from left to right. A newly uploaded video, shared on June 25th, 2024, has only been viewed by about 1,000 people so far. The footage shows a man investigating strange sounds and movements in the woods at the edge of his property. Driven by curiosity, he ventured closer, and what he discovered was astonishing. The short clip captures a massive creature emerging from the dark forest. Upon realizing it's been spotted, the creature turns and retreats, moving cautiously, as though trying to stay unnoticed. The man filming is left both stunned and intrigued, estimating the creature to be at least 9 feet tall. He describes it as a bipedal beast, covered in thick gray and black fur. When the frame is paused, the features closely resemble the descriptions of Bigfoot, though only the upper half of the creature is clearly visible. The video has convinced many viewers online that this could be a genuine Bigfoot sighting, and the man who recorded it believes so as well. The author of the next video was invited as an expert on Bigfoot because activity, loud noises at night, and strange footprints were noticed on this guy's site. Let's see what we managed to capture. What can I say? It's pretty creepy. A scary, massive creature is walking with terrible intentions towards the operator. We see what appears to be a classic silhouette of a Sasquatch-like figure deep within a forested area. The most immediately noticeable and unsettling feature is the glowing red eyes, which pierce through the darkness and vegetation. This alone adds a supernatural intensity to the sighting, giving the figure an almost mythical presence. The creature is largely cloaked in shadow, but its general shape is discernible: tall, broad, and seemingly covered in dark fur. Its proportions appear humanoid yet oversized, with long arms hanging low and a pronounced, bulky torso. From an analytical standpoint, a few points stand out. The red eye glow could be a result of reflection from the camera light, suggesting eye shine similar to nocturnal animals. However, Sasquatch is not officially recognized as a species, so this behavior, if real, could hint at unique ocular adaptations. Still, skeptics might point to digital enhancement, costume design, or post-production effects as explanations. But the photo itself is compelling enough to draw serious attention. Let's take a look at what's said to be a clear photograph of Bigfoot, reportedly taken in Alberta, Canada, back in 2012. While the image has been around for some time, it's remained pretty exclusive. Very few people have actually seen it, so I thought it was worth sharing with you all now. Even though we know when and where the photo was taken, the backstory is still a mystery. But the photo itself is compelling enough to draw serious attention. It shows a large, dark, ape-like figure sitting in a clearing, turned away from the camera. Unfortunately, we don't get a view of its face or the front of its body. One detail that experts often highlight is its arm, the one it appears to be leaning on. The muscular definition is striking. You can see the shoulder muscle clearly, with a flexed tricep and a massive forearm, giving it an unusually powerful look. When analyzing alleged cryptid photos, one of the key things researchers look for is how the fur interacts with the body. Does it lie flush against the muscle? Does it look naturally integrated? In this case, it does. The fur appears tight against the creature's body, showing off its structure and musculature. The figure had a human-like shape, but it moved far too quickly to be a person. The man immediately uploaded the video online, hoping someone could provide an explanation. While boating, a family spotted an unusual figure along the shore. On the shore.
What's that? For there.
They zoomed in for a closer look and saw a dark shape emerging from the dense jungle. Knowing they might not be believed without evidence, they quickly grabbed their camera to capture the moment. In August 2019, Doug Teague, a resident of Hickory, North Carolina, filmed what he believes to be Bigfoot while walking his dog. After hearing loud knocking sounds in the distance, he decided to investigate. Doug soon came across large footprints and followed them until he encountered a strange creature.
He's still up here. Or something's up here. He's moving. He's moving, he's moving, he's moving. Daisy, come here. Daisy, come here.
He claimed that as he approached, the creature started throwing stones at him. It appeared to be the corpse of a baby Sasquatch. One day, a hiker was out on a trek when he came across something utterly unexpected. As an experienced outdoorsman, he had encountered many strange sights in nature, but what he found that day not only shocked him, but left a lasting scar. He captured the unsettling scene on his phone.
The world is out. Jesus.
The gruesome sight was truly unsettling. It appeared to be the corpse of a baby Sasquatch. It looked incredibly lifelike, and the hiker is convinced it's genuine. The face showed signs of slight decomposition, but its features were still discernible. The creature had a large, veiny stomach, with sparse fur in that area, along with slender limbs. The level of detail on this being is astonishing. After extracting the SD card and connecting it to his computer, he was astonished by what he found. A man named Michael Snow shared these trail camera photos in a Facebook group, explaining that he positioned several trail cameras around Bluff Creek, California, a well-known location for Bigfoot sightings. However, shortly after setting them up, he discovered that the cameras were mysteriously disappearing. He would check the locations where he had installed them, only to find them gone. That was until 2023, when he managed to retrieve one of the missing cameras. After extracting the SD card and connecting it to his computer, he was astonished by what he found. The first image reveals an extraordinarily close-up shot of what appears to be a primate-like creature with strikingly human-like eyes, rough, dark-skinned, and thick, shaggy hair above its brow. Skeptics argue that this could just be a monkey, which is a reasonable theory given that California is home to various small monkey species, such as capuchins, howlers, and spider monkeys. The face of the creature in the photos looks more like a gorilla, ruling out the possibility of it being any type of monkey, unless, improbably, a gorilla escaped from a California zoo and found its way deep into Bluff Creek's woods. Furthermore, there are distinct features that differentiate it from gorillas, even with the limited view we have.